So I love the title of our theme for this weekend, Now You See Me. And I was thinking about it earlier today because I was laughing down by the water. I was telling some stories about Kelsey Martin's small group when she was a student. I had just come on staff 13 years ago, way back in 2008 when Kelsey was in 6th grade. And I know it was a long time. It was, Melissa was a teenager, and now she's like got a house full of kids. It's crazy. Their group, I've been a youth pastor for 20 years. I have never seen a group, this is not a challenge to the 6th grade girls in the room, okay, to be clear. I've never seen a group that had so much sass and attitude as that group of girls. Like, they thought they owned the youth group. And Kelsey, where's Kelsey in the room? She's over there. She's probably nodding right now. It's dark. I can't see what she's doing. But, yeah, she's nodding. But here's what was funny about the group. I love their small group. It was so much fun. It was the first group of that year, was the first group of kids I was ever the youth pastor for the whole 7 years they were in student ministry. And their group had just an incredible connection. And Melissa was one of their small group leaders. And somewhere around 7th or 8th grade, it might have been 8th grade, Kelsey randomly put together a slideshow video about why she loved her small group. And inadvertently, over the course of like this 3-minute video, she was highlighting all the things they did for each other, right? All the ways they support each other and they loved each other and all these different things. And there were all these different pictures that were going through. And I remember, and she just kind of like shared it, her and her friends, they were watching it. And I saw it and I was like, oh my word, like this video, I should show it to you guys sometime. I thought of it too late, so I didn't bring it tonight. But I remember watching it and going, oh my gosh, like this isn't just a sweet video about a group of girls in our student ministry that love each other. It's an incredible, like it had all the principles of what a small group was supposed to be. So I went to Pastor Bo. This is back when Pastor Bo was a senior pastor. And I was like, we got to show this thing to the church. Is it cool if we show this video to the church? Because like adults could learn from what's going on in this video of what it means to be a small group and why small groups are important. And he was like, yeah, okay. And so then I went back to the girls. And I said, hey, I know you guys just kind of had this video for yourselves, but is it cool if we show it to the church? And their eyes like all bugged out. And I'm pretty sure it was Piper, who you don't know, but Kelsey knows, who goes, oh, will be known. and I loved it, right? Because they had so much sass. Of course, the whole church should know them. But I love it, right? Because I was thinking about it in terms of this weekend, because isn't there just like there's a hunger in us to be known, for someone to see who we really, really are and love us. And that's what we're kind of talking about over this weekend, of so many of us get lost. And there's a lot of different ways that we can feel lost, that we can feel disconnected, that we can feel like we're not where we're supposed to be. But inside there's this hunger to be known, to be seen. The real us. And the thing is, when we're lost, like it's just so frustrating and overwhelming. And it can be scary. And I was laughing last night when Pastor Nate was asking for examples of when people got lost. And I was sitting in the back going, like, it doesn't happen to me so much anymore because I have GPS on my phone. That's an amazing thing. But I used to get lost back in the day, like in some dangerous places. And then no cell phone and no nothing. It's like, I'm just going to pick a direction and start driving and hope I randomly come across something I recognize. That's not a good feeling. Usually doesn't work. I was thinking about it. There's a lot of emotions that can happen when we feel lost. And Nate kind of talked about last night the shame that we can feel. I think there's another emotion that we can feel. Fear. That sometimes we can be feeling fear over what people are going to think if they really know us, right? If they really see us and we feel lost or we feel disconnected or we feel like something's missing. And fear can be a huge driving thing in keeping us continuing to hide ourselves, to stay lost. When an animal is afraid, when they feel fear and they hide, right? Different animals have different ways of hiding, and there were two that I thought were kind of funny. Katie did bugs. Yeah, right? Katie did bugs like they can look like a leaf, right? Like they can just hide, they freeze up, and they just kind of blow with the wind. That's my Katie did impersonation. Do you get it? Right? Like it's just kind of cool. There's another animal that really kind of trips me out. Like some people have put out theories that octopuses are actually aliens because they don't function like any other creature on Earth, right? Like they can change their color. They have so much muscle control, they can change their skin to have different textures so that they can mimic whatever terrain they're in. So if they're afraid, they'll hide. And check out this video. See if you can spot the octopus in this video. Yeah. If that was me filming it, I would have just wet myself, but thankfully I would have been underwater, so nobody would have known. That is so disturbing to me. They can change their colors, they can change their texture, they can do all, and sometimes they're doing it so they can trap something, but sometimes they're doing it when they're fearful. And it's like they can completely disappear. That fear is an incredibly strong motivator. And we've been looking at Adam and Eve a little bit. Adam and Eve from way back at the beginning of everything when God created this man and this woman and he put them in the garden. He said this and that, whatever. And Adam and Eve were the first humans to feel fear, right? That in the garden, when they made that decision to disobey God and they sinned, and then it was kind of, they had a oh crap moment. You ever had one of those moments where like, you know you're not supposed to do? There was one time when I was a kid, we came home and we had a little dachshund, little wiener dog. She's about this tall, about this long. Her name was Heidi. She was so much fun, and she had so much attitude because she was super short in a family of giants. And we came home one day, and normally she was super excited to see us, right? She'd be all like, woo, and her butt would be shaking everywhere, and she's super long, so it'd be really ridiculous looking. And we walked in, and her ears were like down, and she's like, hey, and she kind of ran away, and we're like, that's weird. Heidi did something. And then a few minutes later, my dad started yelling. And what Heidi did was not good, but it was also fantastic. She was not happy that we left her at the house alone, so she went in my parents' room, somehow hopped up onto their bed. She's this tall, where my dad had left his suit jacket, and she pooped on it. She sent a message, right? And have you ever had a moment where, like, you've done something, you're like, you know what, I'm going to do this, and then after you do it, you're like, oh, no. Like, it's out there now. She couldn't take back the poop. That's not how that works. And so, you know, and Adam and Eve are a little bit of that position. Like, they made a decision. They ate the fruit. They did what God said not to do. And then it's like, oh, no. God's going to be coming around. And so they were feeling fearful. And it talks about how because of their sin, because they had stopped trusting God and they did something different, that it disconnected their relationship with Him, right? That sin got in the way and this guilt like caused a barrier. And it says in Genesis 3:7, you can write these references down in your notes as you're keeping notes so we can check those out tomorrow. It says, at that moment when they did this sin, their eyes were opened and they suddenly felt shame at their nakedness. Adam and Eve were naked, just chilling in the Garden of Eden. I know it's crazy. That's why I'm not throwing any pictures up here because this retreat is PG only. Anyways, it says they suddenly felt shame at their nakedness. So they sewed fig leaves together to cover themselves. And it's like they have, nice. It's a really practical solution. I don't know how long a fig leaf clothing is going to last. But it was like they felt this shame at what they had done, a shame about themselves that they had never felt before. And they covered themselves up, and maybe it was about the physical nakedness, but maybe it was also just about what was going on in their life that they were like, ooh, we need to hide. And it even talks about how they hid from God. It was like they felt exposed, they felt shame, they felt fear. Dictionary.com describes fear like this: a distressing emotion caused by impending danger, evil, pain, etc. So what did Adam and Eve do? They camouflaged themselves with fig leaves and covered their nakedness. They went into hiding because they felt like they were in danger because of who they had become, what they were doing. I was thinking about masks that we do, how we try to camouflage ourselves. Let me show you a picture. You're asking yourself, why am I just showing you a black screen? It's the one human that fully camouflaged himself. It's actually a photo of John Cena. You can't see him. Yeah, that was cheesy. Whatever. What is... It amused me. Most of my jokes worked. That one maybe not so much. Let me ask you this. What is your mask? Don't call it out, but just think about it. What is your mask? That all of us have worn masks at different times. And I'm not talking about like Halloween, like way back when I was a kid. My favorite costume, I had a robot costume with uncomfortable arms, but looked amazing. I'm not talking about that kind of mask. A mask where we're hiding who we are, where we're pretending to be something else. Like, what kind of masks do we wear to try and protect ourselves? To pretend to be something different. That maybe we try to put on the popularity mask, right? To be a certain way in school, to have people look at us and view us a certain way. And what do I need to say? Who do I need to be friends with? What do I need to do to be viewed as popular? To have this kind of status, to get these kinds of likes, to get these kinds of, all those, I was going to start trying to drop some words that I really don't, I don't know how to use them. But that's one way that we can hide ourselves. Another way is maybe the athlete mask. That we try to be a certain way and act a certain way, and we put all of our value in what we can achieve on the field or this or that, and then it's kind of like devastating when that's over. But that, and I'm not saying being an athlete's bad, right? Like, I'm not even saying it's bad to be liked. It's when that becomes the thing that we hide behind. Like, I'm so afraid of people knowing who I really am, I'm going to work so hard at this so they think I'm something else. Maybe it's a relationship mask. I remember one time, there's nobody in this room because it was so long ago, but I remember one time we had thrown out the question, what do you like most about yourself? And one of the students wrote, my boyfriend. And I remember just thinking, like there was a part of me that goes, oh, like if the most valuable thing about you is this other person, that feels like a relationship mask to me, right? That I'm hiding behind this relationship, who I really am, where my value really is. That if your value is this other person, that's out of balance. Maybe it hides how lonely we feel, how alone we feel. I had a friend years ago who used to keep themselves busy all day long, just nonstop, go, 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 go. And I remember they used to complain about how they couldn't sleep at night, and at 3 a.m, they would just be there like wide awake, overwhelmed and depressed and frustrated. And it was almost like their mask was hiding behind all of this busyness, because whenever there was a moment where they were alone with their thoughts, it was overwhelming, and they were afraid of that. And so they would hide behind all of these other things. See, these masks hide us from feeling rejected, we think. But the reality is we're not letting people see who we really are. We're not really seeing our own value in ourselves the way God sees us. When Adam and Eve disconnected themselves from God, fear became huge in their hearts. It was like something was screaming, you're in danger, you're in danger. If anyone knew the real you, you would be rejected. So they covered themselves up. But the Apostle Paul gave an answer to early Christians about one of the ways that we fight our fears and become the person that God created us to be, the person that when God looks at you, what he sees, versus the mask that we put up or the things that we hide behind or the things that we do. And in Romans 12:2, Paul writes, don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. See, our sense of identity comes from how we think about ourselves, right? And when we let God transform how we see, when we let God transform what we think, when we let God transform how we view ourselves and how we view people around us, suddenly those masks don't seem so necessary. We start to see ourselves the way God really sees us. Because here's the deal, right? Like God looks at you and he goes, I want to have a say in how you see yourself. I want to have a say in how you view yourself and where you put your value and what you mean to this world and the people around you and to God. There's a story that Jesus told that ties this that I think is super valuable. And you may have heard of it. It's the story of the lost coin, the parable of the lost coin. And there was this trio of parables that Jesus told. And the first one, Pastor Nate referenced last night, going after the lost sheep. And after he told that one, then he told another story. And it was really, it's kind of strange for us, right, in 2021 to read this story. Because in Luke 15:8, it says, or suppose a woman has 10 silver coins and loses one. Won't she light a lamp and sweep the entire house and search carefully until she finds it? And there's a part of me that like reads that and goes like, how much is this coin worth? Right? Like how many of you have lost a coin and tore apart your house looking for that coin? Okay, a couple people, never mind. I've never done it. Like this past week, our neighborhood, a bunch of cars got broken into, and our car was one of the cars that got broken into and robbed, and they took my new backpack, and I was super bummed because it was like awesome and new, and it was super cool. And they also took all of the coins in my little, little tray thing. It's my Taco Bell coins. So like if I want to get a 99-cent taco, and Heather doesn't know about it because I'm not swiping a card, I'm just taking my coins. And they took all of it, and I didn't even notice at first. Like I noticed the backpack was gone, and like 3 days later, I was like, they took my coins. I had so many. I had just restocked it. It was like all sorts of quarters. There was even some of those Susan B. Anthony dollars. I was like, man. And I went back inside. I was like, Heather, they took the coins too. And she was like, how many did they take? And I was like, I don't really know how many there were, right? Because it doesn't really, and then I was kind of over and I was back to being bummed. Like, we don't really tear apart stuff about coins. And so there was a part of me that for many years was like, this is a really kind of over-the-top story about this woman tearing apart her house because she lost one coin. Like, what's the deal? When I lived in Maine, we had a couple friends. There was a married couple in our church. And one day, we lived in such a small town, the trash collectors wouldn't come to our house. Like, imagine that. You would just wait until you had enough garbage, and then you'd throw it all in the back of your car and take it to the dump. A lot of people in Maine had trucks, which that works better for. We didn't. We had a minivan, so we'd stink that thing up. Because they didn't have like trash service to the house. And so you would collect all you'd take it to the dump. People would like hang out at the dump. It was super weird. It was like a social event. I don't know. But there was one day the woman realized she lost her wedding ring. Yeah. You see where this is going because I already referenced the dump. She realized she took her rings off while she was doing the dishes. She took her wedding ring off and set it. And then she, and they're looking everywhere, and they look down the pipe, and she realized, I think it fell into the trash can. And then she realized her husband had taken all the bags of trash and already gone to the dump. And so they're like, oh no. So you know what they did? The guy, he just went out and bought another ring. No, you know what this guy did? He went to the dump. And he remembered what time. He was like, it was approximately at 2 o'clock. I'm making up times. I don't remember details this well. Like hypothetically, it was at 2 o'clock yesterday that I brought the trash. And so they knew because they had a giant trash compactor, you would like throw it in and hope you didn't fall in. It was kind of fun. And then it squishes it. And then they would shuttle it over and just dump it, right? And they were, okay, so if it was 2 o'clock and they had a schedule, that means we compacted it at this time, and they took it, and they would have dumped, it got dumped there. So this dude climbed through the trash in the dump looking for the garbage bags from his house. And you know how garbage bags all look unique to every house? No. It was a mountain of black garbage bags, right? And so he's ripping through garbage bags. He found the ring.
How long did it take?
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't want to ask a lot of questions because that whole story had me going like, Heather better not ever throw away a ring because I do not. Like now he set the bar super high, right? Because now I can't be the guy that's like, no, I guess it's gone. You're like, but he did it. Oh, I hate that guy. Right? So he finds the ring, and she got it back, and there's a party that maybe like that ring was in the trash. You don't know what other trash was up against it. Like, think of all the stuff you have ever thrown away. Would you want to wear that? Right? She cleaned the ring, polished it up. It was like it meant all the world to her. Why am I telling this story? Because we're talking about a coin. Back in the day, when Jewish girls got married 2,000 years ago, when Jesus told this story, they would wear this little like headdress thing of 10 coins. And it was part of their dowry. And they had it, and scholars aren't sure if they wore it all the time or if they just had it and they would wear it for special occasions, but it actually almost functioned as their version of a wedding ring. And to lose it, or even part of it, was a huge deal. Like, it was actually such an offensive thing in the culture that a man would, like, divorce a woman over it if she lost it. It's like, yeah, like, what the heck? Just buy another coin. But when you start to realize that, you go, oh, that's why she tore apart her house. Like, who wouldn't tear apart their house looking for their wedding ring? Who wouldn't? It turned out, I tried to Google because I remembered, like my friend, when that happened, it was in the news. I Googled, man going to dump looking for a wedding ring. There's so many stories. Apparently, this is just happening all the time. Right? Be careful with your rings. That's a big lesson tonight. No. It's happening all the time. And so here's where it starts to mean something different to me about this story, that in this story, this woman lost one of these coins. And when Jesus was telling this story, the example he was using, the metaphor that he was going, when he goes, hey, this woman lost a coin and she tore apart everything looking for it. And the house was dirty, and they didn't really have windows back then, so there wasn't much light, so she had to get a lamp, and wherever the coin went, it probably got dirty. And some stuff was covering, so she's sweeping and using the light and hoping to see a reflection to try and find this coin so that when she found it, she could clean it and shine it up and polish it and restore it to its value, the value that she knew that it had. And what Jesus is going, he's going, like, you're the coin. You're the coin. You're the wedding ring. Like, you are so immensely valuable. Of course I would jump into the dump to find you. I would, wherever you are not going to get too dirty or too gross. It doesn't matter if your ring like ended up in the bag with all the dirty diapers and the rotten bananas and like there's some messed up stuff at dumps. Anyways. Jesus is telling this story to go, don't you get it? Like no matter what, I'm going to have to. You're the ring. You're the coin. You're this thing of incredible, incredible value. And the problem is the coin got lost. It's somewhere in the house, and it's getting dirty, and it's dingy, and there's a challenge sometimes that, like, when we feel like we're dirty, when we feel like we're lost and we're overwhelmed, we start getting these voices, right? That when we're hiding what's going on inside, we start getting these voices that are just kind of like tearing ourselves down. Like, you're dirty, you're worthless. Like, who'd want to... Like, if people knew who I really was, if people knew what was really going on, if people knew what I really thought, like, I was that guy so much in high school and college where I was just like, oh. If people really knew who I was, they would not want to be my friend. If people really knew how I felt about it, they would not want to be around me. That there were these voices telling me, like, this is what I live, of going, I am not as valuable as I am pretending to be. And I was trying to hide it. Like, for me, it was the drama nerd. I love being in the plays. I love being up on the stage. I love being up on the platform with everybody looking. Uh-oh. That sounds kind of suspicious as I'm standing up here with everybody looking at me. I know. I loved, and so that was kind of the mask I hid behind. I loved all the high fives on the good performance, and there was a part of me that was like, oh, if they really knew, right? And when Jesus was telling this story, he's going, this is who you are. This is the kind of value you have. And it gets kind of fascinating. There was a religious leader in Luke 7, another part of the gospel, who thought he was all that. And he put on this big performance of he was so great, and he was so this, and he was so that. And his name was Simon. It was Luke chapter 7. You'd think if you looked at him at first glance, you might go, like, this guy has it all figured out. And he invited Jesus over to hang out at his house. And when Jesus showed up, he didn't kiss his hand. And I know, like a lot of us dudes, we aren't walking around kissing each other's hands, right, Tommy? Like, yeah, well, no. That challenge was accepted. But he didn't do it. And that was like a sign of respect and a sign of deference. And Simon was like, I'm so important, I don't need to kiss Jesus' hand. And then Jesus showed up at his house. And you're supposed to wash people's feet back in the day. When people would come to your house, you were supposed to. And here's why. It's because they had like sandals and whatever, and they're walking around, and their feet would get really dirty. And usually people are nice about it. And they're like, yeah, the feet would get because the roads were dusty. Here's the reality. There were a lot of animals in those roads. I lived in a third world country for a bunch of years of my life, and animals just poop and pee wherever they are, man. Feet get nasty. When you're walking on dirt roads where animals are going, it's dusty, it's wet, and it's not wet because of rain. And it's like all these, and the feet get kind of funky. And when you show up at someone's house, you'd wash their feet. But here's the thing, is usually they'd have a servant do it. Right? Because that was like a job for the lowest of the low. And Simon, apparently, he didn't have a servant in his house that day. And he wasn't going to humble himself like that to wash Jesus' feet. So he didn't do that. And it's just kind of like going on as he's doing this, and there were some other people there, and Simon is just kind of like being this really big deal. And then the Bible tells us, and it says, a sinful woman walked into the room, and it was a really polite way of and I was like double checking on the commentaries in the Greek. Is this really what this is talking about? And it was kind of a polite way of saying like she was a prostitute. Like this was a person of questionable activities. And everyone in the room would have known who she was because this was like small towns. It's not like, we don't think of Wilmington as huge, but towns back in the day were hundreds or thousands of people, not tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people. And if you've ever lived in a small town, when I lived in that town up in Maine, it was like 2,000 people total. Everybody knows everybody. High schoolers used to hate it because no matter what they did, before they got home, somebody had already called their parents. Hey, I saw Ben driving by, and they're like, just thought you'd like to know. I did not want them to know. Thank you. But she shows up, and so everybody's like, this is a sinful woman. This is a bad person. Like, she should not be here around all of us because we're so big and we're so this and that. And she walks in, and she could probably feel the judgment. She knew how they were viewing her. And I don't think Jesus was doing that because he gestures for her to come over. And it's like every mask she may have been wearing just kind of shattered because it says in Luke 7:38, hey, can you hit the space bar? Or the right arrow? Until we get to Luke 7:38. There we go. And she knelt behind him at his feet, weeping. Her tears fell on his feet, and she wiped them off with her hair. She took her hair down, which was in the culture just wildly inappropriate. Like, woman does not take down her hair in front of men who are not her husband. But she takes her hair down, and she's just like she's crying so much that she can actually clean his feet with her tears in her hair. And she kept kissing his feet and putting perfume on them. It talks about this perfume that she had. It was just that type of perfume cost a year's wages. And she's pouring it on his feet. And all these really high and mighty guys are just wildly offended. They're like, this is completely inappropriate. This blah, blah, blah. What a waste of resources. Like, she could have fed so many poor with this. And it's like, yeah, but you're not out there feeding any of the poor, Simon. Like, what in the world? And they're saying all this stuff. And it was like they were scrambling to cover up who they are. Like, we're good people, we're this or that, and they're tearing her down. And in the moment, Simon is like protecting his mask and the image that he wants people to see. But this woman was just pulling away all the masks and just revealing her heart to Jesus. Rejection wasn't even a fear for her anymore at this point. Like, she was past it. Like, have you ever had one of those moments where you're just like, I just can't take it anymore. I just have to say it. Like, she wasn't even afraid of that anymore. And everyone in the room was rejecting this woman just openly, except for Jesus. And Jesus says in Luke 7:47 through 48, I tell you, her sins, and they are many. Which if I was her, I'd be a little bit like, was that necessary? But whatever. He goes, I tell you, her sins, and they are many, have been forgiven. So she has shown me so much love. But a person who is forgiven little shows only little love. You know what he's saying there? He's kind of saying to Simon, man, like, you don't love people very much, which makes me kind of feel like you haven't apologized for very much because you haven't been forgiven very much. Like, if you haven't really revealed who you are and faced it and tore away the masks, you're not going to love very much either. And then Jesus said to the woman, your sins are forgiven. Here's where I'm going with all this. Your mask, the thing you do, isn't keeping God from finding you. Right? Whatever it is you're hiding behind, whatever it is that you're not saying, whatever it is that's going on in your heart, that doesn't keep God from finding you. You know, in the same way that the woman was searching because she knew how valuable this ring, this coin was, that she had to find it, God's the same way that He sees a value that we don't see in ourselves. What does happen is our masks keep us from finding God. That it keeps us from letting Him approach us. That we need to get to the point like this woman who just, I don't care anymore. Like, God, just take me how I am. When fear is our loudest voice, it keeps us in hiding, but the Holy Spirit wants you to have something better. God wants you to see the value in you that He sees in you. And He wants to reveal the real you. And the question, the challenge that we have then is, will you leave your mask at the feet of Jesus and pick up a better identity? At the end of the story about the woman who lost the coin, and now that we know a little bit of the context of what those coins meant back then, because why would she do all of this if it was just some random coin? It says, and when she finds it, she will call in her friends and neighbors and say, rejoice with me, because I have found my lost coin. In the same way, there is joy in the presence of God's angels when even one sinner repents. You know, when Jesus was telling this parable, He's going, hey, no matter what it is you're hiding, whatever your mask is, whatever is going on, there is nothing that you are going to reveal that doesn't have me just rejoicing to finally have you. Right? That there is nothing that you are hiding, there's nothing that you are doing where Jesus goes, whoa, I wasn't telling the story about that. Like, that's too far. There's no, humans, we do that to each other. But God is never going to do that to us. It doesn't matter how many times we've done it, how many times God is always going to want to find us. God is always going to be clean for us because He sees we are His children, His masterpiece, it says in one part of the Bible. He has so much love for us, and what I want, like so desperately for all of us, is to recognize just our incredible value and worth in God that He sees in us. And so the question is, will you leave your mask at the feet of Jesus? And here's what I want you to do. It's 8:30. In a little bit, we're going to go over and have a bonfire and our candle lighting ceremony. I'm going to give you some instructions for that. But in just a moment, I'm going to pray. And what I'd like you to do, if you're hearing all this and you're going, man, I do want to do something. Like, I want to be found. I want to be that coin, the ring. I want Jesus to finally, like, let's do this. And it doesn't matter if like you've made a decision before to be a Christian or you want to make a decision now or whatever it is and you're like, I need to get back. I've been hiding some stuff. I've got some masks in the way. What I want you to do is to grab one of the leaders, your small group leader, myself, Melissa, Jamie, any of the adults after and just be like, hey, I want to talk. I want to pray. Maybe you're like, that's really conspicuous. And it would be easier to just be like, pull out your phone and shoot one of us a text and be like, hey, I want to talk about what McNutt was talking about. Right? You just say, hey, I have some questions. Or I want to pray. Or I want to talk about what it would mean to get rid of some of these masks and just be who I really am with God and with Jesus. And to feel that forgiveness and that acceptance and the peace that comes with that we were meant to have. So grab one of us, shoot a text, send a message, find a carrier pigeon, whatever it is. But let me pray. And man, seriously, if that's something you're thinking, like while I'm praying, just elbow your leader if they're next to you. Go ahead and pull out your phone and send them a text while I'm saying, while I'm praying. It's the one time I'm going to be like, play with the phone while we've all got our eyes closed and we're praying. All right, let's pray. You guys, everybody close your eyes. Let's take a few moments here. God, we thank you so much that you view us this way. That we are these precious wedding rings, just of incredible value, of emotional value, of sentimental value, of actual value. Of all of these different ways that you look at us and see us as so important to you and so valuable to you and so much so that you told all of these stories that we're looking at over the course of this weekend where nothing gets in the way of you chasing us down. And God, I ask for everyone in this room, that if there's anyone that is just kind of hearing this and going, that's what I want, that you would give them the strength and the courage to go ahead and release those masks, to talk to one of the leaders, to send us a message or grab us or elbow us or just afterwards be like, hey, that's me. God, I ask that you would give them that courage, that you would give each of us that strength to put aside these masks, to not put anything in the way of us finding you because you've already found us and you already know everything about us and you want us so much so. In your name, Lord, amen.